We all think we know the story of Icarus, right? It's the ultimate cautionary tale. Don't fly too close to the sun. But what if we've been telling that story wrong? In this explainer, we're going to flip that entire myth on its head. We're going to look at Icarus not as a lesson in failure, but as this incredible blueprint for human potential.
So, let's start with one big question. What if his fall wasn't a tragedy at all? What if it was actually a triumph? Just thinking about that for a second, well, it changes absolutely everything.
Okay, so before we completely dismantle the story, let's do a quick refresh on the classic version. The one we've all been told for centuries to warn us about getting too ambitious.
For generations, this myth has basically boiled down to three simple lessons. Don't be arrogant, always take the safe middle way, and of course, you better listen to your elders. It's simple, it's straightforward, and honestly, it's pretty restrictive.
And this warning from his father, Daedalus, is the absolute core of that old story. It's sold to us as the only path to safety, the one and only way to survive. But what if that safe path was actually a cage? And this is where it all starts to change. We're going to start looking at that middle way, not as some profound wisdom, but as what it might really be, a gilded cage. I mean, look at the contrast here. The old idea tells us it's the path of wisdom and safety, but the heroic rejection sees it as a philosophy of stagnation and of fear. This new Icarus sees his father's advice for what it is, a hard limit on his own potential.
And there's actually a name for this kind of thinking, thanks to the philosopher Nietzsche. He called it the mindset of the last man. This is someone who prizes comfort and safety above all else, living on what he called a stagnant earth, where nothing great is ever risked, and so nothing great is ever achieved.
And this brings us to a huge problem with the original story. The storyteller himself. Let's not forget, Daedalus was the guy who built the labyrinth, a literal prison. His advice isn't really coming from a place of pure wisdom. It's coming from a place of control and fear. He's what you'd call a compromised authority. So, with all that in mind, Icarus's flight becomes something totally new. It's not just some kid disobeying his dad. It's a conscious, philosophical rebellion. It's an act of self-creation. And in Nietzsche's world, Icarus becomes the embodiment of the Übermensch, or the overman. Now, this isn't about being some kind of superhero. It's about being a pioneer of self-overcoming. Someone who has the courage to break free from old, tired rules to create new, life-affirming values. So let's get this straight. His flight was not about hubris, not about excessive pride. It was a radical assertion of his own autonomy. It was him choosing his own path and rejecting the limits that were being forced on him.
And it wasn't just some moment of youthful foolishness either.
It was the celebration of a revolutionary virtue. That pure joy he felt while flying, that wasn't a distraction. That was the entire point. That was the feeling of authentic, ecstatic self-realization. And this brings us to the most important part of this whole reinterpretation. We have to completely redefine what success even means for Icarus. Hint, it's not about the destination. See, the old myth defines success as cautious survival. Just get off the island, stay alive. But the heroic version, it defines success as achieving an authentic experience. That single, profound moment of self-realization when he pushed his limits and felt truly, completely alive. So by this new standard, Icarus already won. He succeeded the second he chose to soar, the moment he chose that ecstatic experience over just existing. The fall doesn't take away that victory. But okay, what about the fall? I mean, it's the most famous part of the whole story, right? Well, in this version, the fall isn't a punishment. It's actually something way more powerful. The fall is a catalytic event. Imagine it like a bolt of lightning striking that stagnant earth we talked about. It's this moment of beautiful, violent creation that cracks open all the old, hardened ways of thinking and allows something brand new to grow in its place. It's almost like alchemy, really. You start with your base material, the old, limited version of yourself. You throw it into the crucible, that intense, powerful flight toward the sun. The fall itself is the breaking point, the destruction of that old form. And what comes out of that fire? Gold, new values, new courage, expanded human potential. This ascendant failure leaves behind an incredible legacy.
It gives us the data we need for others to fly even higher next time. It establishes these brand new ideals like innovation, resilience, and pure courage. And it even inspires real-world projects like the engineering study for an interstellar probe, which was very fittingly named Project Icarus. So, we arrive at this new, heroic legacy for Icarus. He's no longer the boy who failed. He's the pioneer who showed all of us the way forward. He teaches us this incredibly profound lesson, that the true value of life isn't found in the stagnant complacency of just playing it safe and staying grounded. It's found in taking that magnificent risk of flying into the unknown, of reaching for your absolute highest potential. So the question his new legacy leaves us with isn't how do we avoid the fall, it's something much more personal. What magnificent risk are you willing to take? What sun are you flying towards?